The most humiliating moment of my marriage happened in front of 30 people, and it started with an empty chair. My mother-in-law Judith looked at me, then at my husband's ex-wife sitting comfortably beside him, and told me that the seats had been saved for family. Then she looked directly into my eyes and said that I was not family. What she did not know was that I had brought her a gift that could change everything. My name is Caroline Hayes, and I had been married to Daniel for 8 years. That evening was Judith's 70th birthday dinner at a beautiful restaurant in Blue Ash. I arrived carrying flowers and a small cream-colored gift box. The room was decorated with gold napkins, elegant place settings, and a large 70 on the dessert table. There were chairs for everyone except me. Daniel had a seat. His ex-wife Melissa had a seat directly beside him. Even their son had one. I stood there wondering if someone had simply forgotten my place card. Then Judith walked over, smiling as if nothing was wrong. I asked where I should sit. She calmly told me that she had saved the seats for family. Then she added that I was not one of them. The room became painfully quiet. I looked at Daniel, waiting for him to defend me. Instead, he sighed and told me not to start something on his mother's birthday. That sentence hurt more than Judith's insult. I had spent years trying to keep peace between them, swallowing comments and pretending certain things did not matter. I looked down at the gift in my hands and suddenly felt foolish for believing this dinner could be different. I smiled, picked up my purse, and told Judith that if I was not family, perhaps the gift did not belong there either. Then I walked toward the elevators. Judith followed me into the hallway. For a moment, I thought she might apologize. Instead, she asked what was inside the box. That was when I understood. She was not worried about losing me from her birthday dinner. She was worried about losing whatever was inside that box. I pulled it away when she reached toward it and simply told her good night. Daniel caught up with me in the parking lot. He looked annoyed rather than sorry. He said I had walked out of his mother's 70th birthday. I reminded him that his mother had invited his wife and then refused to give her a chair. Daniel said there would have been somewhere for me to sit. I stared at him and told him that might be the saddest thing he had ever said to me. Then I drove home alone. For years, Judith had made me feel like an outsider. She once asked to be added to one of our financial accounts because she believed she should still help Daniel manage his money. When I politely refused, she treated it like a personal betrayal. After that, I was slowly excluded from family events. Daniel always gave me the same excuse. That is just Mom. Eventually, I realized those 4 words were simply his way of avoiding confrontation. The one person who had never treated me that way was Roberts, Daniel's father. Before he died, he warned me that Judith sometimes confused family with obedience. He told me never to let her make me believe I had to accept disrespect just to keep everyone comfortable. After Robert's death, his attorney Susan contacted me. Robert had left his 25% share of the family cabin on Lake Cumberland under a trust, and he had named me trustee. His instructions were very clear. If Judith truly wanted to keep the cabin for the family, I could eventually transfer his share to her. But if she intended to sell it, his share had to remain protected for the grandchildren. For more than a year, Judith pressured me to release the paperwork. Finally, 12 days before her birthday, she gave me a written statement saying she had no intention of selling the cabin and wanted it preserved for the family. I believed her. I wanted the conflict to end, so I prepared the transfer documents and placed them inside the birthday gift box. That was the box I had carried into her party. That night, after I returned home, Judith called me and immediately asked whether Robert's paperwork was inside the box. I hung up. About an hour later, Daniel came home and accused me of using the cabin documents to punish his mother. I stared at him because I had never told him what was inside. When I asked how he knew, He admitted Melissa had messaged him earlier. Daniel finally showed me the conversation. Melissa had warned him that Judith had moved my place card. Daniel knew what was happening, but he told Melissa not to get involved. He even said that I probably would not stay long. I felt something inside me break. Daniel had known enough to warn me and chose not to. He had protected his mother's feelings while leaving me to face the humiliation alone. I told him that his ex-wife had shown more concern for me that night than my own husband. He had no answer. The next morning, Melissa called me. She apologized for not speaking up sooner and then told me something that changed everything. After I left, Judith had been asking about my gift. During dessert, she had also talked about the cabin. According to Melissa, Judith said that if spring prices were high, she would be foolish not to consider selling it. I immediately pulled out the written statement Judith had given me. She had promised she would not sell. Melissa then told me something even worse. Judith had apparently already spoken to a real estate agent about the property. I called Susan immediately. I told her everything, including the fact that I was angry enough to destroy the paperwork just to make sure Judith never got the cabin. Susan reminded me of Robert's instructions. He had specifically told me not to use his gift as a weapon. He wanted me to protect what he believed belonged to the family. I realized then that this was no longer about the birthday dinner, the missing chair, or even Judith's cruelty. It was about whether I would allow anger to control a decision that Robert had trusted me to make. Susan told me she would check the legal records before I did anything. And as I sat there holding the papers, I finally understood the truth. Judith had spent years treating me like I was not family. But now she needed me, and for the first time I was the one holding the decision she could not control.